Okay, so I have one minor complaint, and maybe I'm making a bigger issue out of it than it needs to, but in the instructions for the Silver Bandit, they mention that there is a wide nut, which you have here, and a thin nut, which we have here. And Bob instructs you to place the large nut on the outside of the bracket and the thin nut on the inside of the bracket as you put the nylon nut through here, or the nylon bolt through this. So his products are ever evolving if you watch his videos, and it looks like what they've done now is they've gone and taken the extra step of going ahead and welding these nuts onto the bracket to make life a little bit easier for you. Then you only have to worry about the outside nut. My problem with that is that they have welded the large nut on the inside, and as a result there really is not much room. We're only talking about 1/8 of an inch of space between here for these nylon nuts. So once you thread the nylon nuts into here, you're only going to have 1/16 of an inch of bolt on either side that's going to line up on that for your registration. And I think that's, nice step to nice addition in welding these nuts on there, but these larger ones should have been on the outside so that you had a little more room on the inside for the nylon bolt to come through. Okay, so what I've done here is I've put the nylon nuts and threaded them in so that they are tight against this centerpiece here, and that's just pressed on there. But again, I would like to have more of the nylon bolt coming through those nuts. So at any rate, then we're just going to lower this down till we make contact with our 2x4, and that's going to let us know where to go ahead and mark to attach that bracket to the 2x4. Once you've marked and determined where that bracket needs to go, it's going to mount with these two large flathead wood screws. Okay, so once you've attached with these two screws, then you'll just bring your print head down and it locks right in, and there's your registration. Bring this other one around. Locks right down. And again, so every print head is going to fall right down in the same place every time. But again, this still bothers me with these large nuts on the inside. And once you've got your nuts, you notice there's not very much nut at all that's sticking through there. But once that were off, then there would be considerably more room with these small nuts on the inside. So then you would tighten up your outside nut against the outer bracket, and that would prevent this bolt from turning once you've got that locked into place. Okay, so now I've tightened those up, the outer nuts, so these nylon bolts are locked in place there. Registration is perfect every time on all three heads. And just as a reminder, if you bought the dual station unit, there is one more of these brackets with the nylon nuts, and of course those are welded on as well. But I'll be setting those aside along with my other station, because right now I'm only building a single station unit. I bought the dual station so that we will have it when I have the space for it. Okay, so now I want to reinstall these print heads, so I'm going to pull that over with one of these plates and two of these washers, and you're just going to push that print head down, take these two nuts off the top, you're going to set the print head on there, then this plate, then a washer, and the other washer, and then reattach these nuts. And if you'll excuse me, I'm going to use both hands. Okay, so the purpose of this plate here and these large holes that are in this print head, that is so that you look at all of this registration room you have for getting your screens where you want them. You have so much room that you can move. So for now, I'm just going to pull these all the way out, tighten them up, and this print head is now ready to go. Okay, once all three print heads are installed, then we're going to want to install these levers here, and what these levers are going to do is they're going to latch on and hold your print head and your screen in the up position when you raise it. So all you're going to do is you're going to take this screw and locking nut, place it through this bracket down here, and then this will hook onto the edge. Okay, so I've installed our levers. These are our hold-ups. As you can see, they hold the print head up. So all you do is when you lift your screen, the lever latches down on there, keeps that print head from falling down, and then if you just lift it up, it comes right down. So next step. So what I have here now is my drying rack for my screens, screen rack or a drying rack. And a lot of people build these out of wood or use a cabinet. What I have here is I happen to sell restaurant equipment at my day job. So I have brought home, this is actually used for sheet pans in a restaurant, but it's a little not quite wide enough. So what I did is I just cut these metal tubes and inserted a dowel rod inside it, a square dowel rod that fit perfect in there. Put a couple screws in it. I did that at all four corners, and that allowed me to widen this stand so that it'll fit my 20 by 24 screens, and then it's 26 inches front to back, so it'll work perfect. It's a half size. It'll hold 10 racks or 10 screens, and in addition, it's on casters. The front casters do lock, so you can lock it in place. And then I'm going to use this, this thing is going to be double duty, because what I've done is on top I've mounted this plywood to it and just drill it down into the side panels. So the reason I've put this plywood on top is because this is going to be my stand for my tabletop press that I'm going to mount on top of it. So I have already drilled a hole there to prepare it for the nut that's on the bottom of the Silver Bandit printing press, and we'll talk about that in another video. Okay, so now I have mounted my 2x4 to my base, and this printer is basically ready for the we are ready to continue forward. You'll notice that right here I have this oddball bracket just screwed to the side. That's because I did buy a 2-station unit, but I am only putting on 1 station right now. So I just went ahead and screwed that right to the top. That way I don't have to worry about that thing getting lost. So let's go ahead and attach these platen since I'm doing one. So you'll notice that what he's got here is another bracket on the bottom with these nuts welded on, and that is to secure the platen to the 2x4. So you're just going to come here and slide that right on, and then you're going to have a nut, the bolt that's going to come up from the bottom, and a bolt that'll come from the other side. That way your platen is adjustable for how far out it needs to be based on the size of your screen, and yet you'll be able to securely attach it and have it lock in place. Okay, so all you're going to do is you're going to tighten these 2 bolts in here just until they just are not touching. That way you still can go front to back, and you still got a little bit of rocking movement here. Once we figure out exactly where the platen needs to be placed, then we'll go ahead and tighten those down. Those bolts will lock into the 2x4, and even just finger tightening that, I now cannot move that platen. So we will figure out where the shirt goes here in a little bit, and we'll lock that down. Okay, so now we are ready to set our off contact and get a screen actually mounted into the head. So the first thing you want to do, I've gotten my platen on here. I've got a t-shirt on here, one that already had a design, just so I can see it through the screen and know where it needs to be sitting. So we want to release the head and drop that down, and then you want to loosen these bolts here, because that is what will adjust your off contact. So you're going to loosen those up. That'll loosen and allow us to set the off contact. And then we want to go ahead and loosen these as well, and that's going to release all the registration. So now we have total movement up and down for the off contact, and then around and around. So we want to loosen these up, spread that out so that we can get a screen in there here. Pretty close. We'll see if we can fit a screen in there. Okay, so we are opened up enough that we can get a screen, so let's grab a screen here. And what we want to do is we want to set the screen to the shirt, approximately where we would be printing at. And I am, because I haven't done one yet, I am just going to line the screen up with my platen and all the edges, and this is just about exactly the same width as the platen. So, and I want to get my edge lined up here. So now we have the screen sitting where we want. We can go ahead and set our off contact. So we're going to tighten these back up now and clamp the screen. Alright, so now we have the screen clamped to the head. Obviously I just moved the screen, but we still have all this kind of movement that we can do because we haven't tightened the back yet. So now we're going to reposition the screen to the platen, move it back over where it needs to be. So now that we have that in place, we're going to hold a hand on the screen, hold it in place, and we're going to re-tighten these off contact nuts. Okay, so now we've tightened the nuts for the off contact. We'll again want to check and make sure our screen is where we want it to be sitting, because we have not tightened down the registration yet. So that's good. I guess that's about where I want it to sit. And now we will come over here and we're going to tighten these down. And I guess in theory, if you had two hands and you didn't have one on the camera, you would hold a hand on the screen while you tighten this with the other hand. Once it's tightened by hand, then you'll go ahead and tighten it with a wrench. Put that back over there. And now our off contact is set and our registration is set, and the screen is coming down right where we need it to.